What's up, world? Peace and blessings. Welcome to lesson number 1 of the second trimester in 2025. We're here dialing in from the studio, and this is always a dial-in day. Anytime that we do our sessions, the first lesson or two, usually we're dialing in the mix. We're making sure that all of our sounds are good, and we're trying not to miss anything. So please send us some comments. Make sure to like and subscribe to NGO Radio Terra's YouTube channel. Thank you so much to them for having us. And we provide free lessons for all levels and all ages every single week for 12 weeks. Starting today and every Wednesday at 4 p.m., you can catch me right here. And I'm going to be giving you everything I know. So today we're going to be talking about grips, grooves, and posture, sort of like an intro to drumming. And like I said, these lessons are for all ages and all levels. So I do skip around between styles, genres, levels of hardness from novice to advanced. So again, email me at ECUSSIONIST. That's ecussionist@gmail.com if you want to have a conversation with me or communicate some questions, some content or what have you. So let's get into it. I'm gonna rock a little bit. We're speaking of grips. I was having fun with this sort of like double stick grip. I'm gonna play around with that, see how it goes. So I really like to experiment with different ways of gripping the sticks because it gives me different sounds. And in this case, I can double up on the 16th notes and create really fast 30-second notes at that 98 BPM kind of drum and bass speed. And I also feel like whenever you create a shaker like phenomenon, whenever you create two sounds from one motion, I also feel like it can help you perceive time better and create more of a solid um, undulating flow. And that's really what good pocket and time and feel ultimately create for me. Shape wise, if we were to look at playing time as a drummer as a line maybe or a circle, right? I think of it as both. I think of it as an undulating spiral constantly moving forward. And it doesn't necessarily have to move forward in a perfectly straight line, but I do believe that when everybody's in sync with one another, everything orbits around that relative pocket of time or that relative agreement of time between all the musicians or all the limbs and creates the goodness that we perceive in music. That creates the ultimate feel, that creates how we decide whether or not the beat is good, right? That's when everything is happening in relationship to one another in a way that just feels good. And the body knows it, the soul knows it, the intellect also knows it, but I feel like the body and the heart receive the information first, and our bodies just start to either move to the music or they don't. I'm going to use the traditional grip next, and this is a grip that I suppose is older maybe than the matched grip, although all drumming comes from Africa and there is nothing necessarily new under the sun. So how one grips the stick dates all the way back then, and maybe so. Maybe matched grip was the original way, but I do know that in a classical percussion forum, holding the stick this way is possibly the oldest Western style. And it's widely used in the jazz, idiom, Black American music styles like Motown and country, yes, and jazz and hip hop. Shout out Daru Jones. Rock music. Matt Cameron is a rock drummer for Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, and Audio Slave, and he still uses traditional grip. So kind of helps you approach the snare and rolls differently than just regular matched grip, okay? So let's check out traditional grip. All right, so traditional grip, and I also threw in an extra Papa Joe Jones, Philly Joe Jones, Billy Hart, traditional Black American music style on the hi-hat. I don't even know what this is called. I know that Max Roach and Roy Haynes have been seen doing it. Billy Hart, I've seen do it. It's sort of like turning your stick vertically from the traditional way, right? So if the traditional grip starts like this, when you flip it upside down, instead of holding it between two fingers, you are holding it like a fist, right? And then you're doing a triplet on the hi-hat with the one of the triplet, the one of the first triplet with the butt of the stick, and then the triplet, and then the back of the stick going upwards, and then triplet. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Now, be very careful that you watch your left hand, at least when you're starting this technique, because you very well could cut your hand on the upstroke or even the downstroke on any one of these 4 fingers. So be careful. Get your fingers out of dodge if you can. I've also seen it done with the kind of traditional grip 2-finger thing. So like this instead of like this. So check it out. I think the faster you go with it, the more out of control it could become. So make sure that you go into that technique with humility, right? So anyways, also I wanted to just make note that one of the foundational rudiments is a buzz roll, and I demonstrated that for quite a while for you because I absolutely love this rudiment. And what I do is I take that sound through the subdivisions. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, and so on and so forth. Really, really helps you get that sound smooth because especially in swing music, you want to be able to have a nice press roll or buzz roll, as I say. right? To grow from nothing into this eruption. All right, so just something to consider. All right, so now let's get to the match grip, right? We got the grip that looks the same in both hands. The French version of match grip is with your thumbs upward like this. Then the second version of this is with the hands turned downward a little bit. This is German 1, I guess you could say. And then I think I'm sort of in between. They call this the American, some people call this the American grip, but I suppose that's sort of where I'm at with it. Right, so right, so this grip is associated more with rock and funk, pocket. You know, the essence of each genre requires you to sort of adopt the physical formation. And that brings me to the next topic that we need to get to before more time runs out, which is posture. And I realize that when looking at myself in the monitor as I'm playing, I'm able to see how maybe I'm digging down into the drum set, boring down on my core, and maybe even losing my center of balance sometimes, and also losing my sense of straightness. And I feel like everybody's different, everybody's body sits differently, but I do realize that if I want to continue to play drums for another 20 years, I have to remember to sit up, and I have to remember to breathe from my diaphragm. I have to remember to take diaphragmatic breaths. So in other words, letting my tummy breathe out, letting my tummy really exhale and stick out. And when I take these big deep breaths from the floor all the way through, maintain my energy throughout 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? However long it takes for us to be in the song. So I'm going to continue playing. Let's keep this interesting. Posture is really just about where your seat is. So I'm a pretty tall person. I have this seat on like the third notch up. Not the fourth, not the second, but the third notch up. See that I'm breathing. Sit up straight. Lock in. Creating these interesting shapes on the drum set, which I think are a bit unconventional, it reminds me to talk to you about setup, right? Because this is the first lesson, so I'm going to be covering some foundational ideas. Today we've covered a couple different grips, how to hold the stick. Not too much in depth on that, but I will get further into that as we go deeper this quarter, or trimester rather. We also talked about posture, sitting up straight, taking diaphragmatic breaths, taking breaths from the floor all through the ceiling, to just simply be able to play for 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Sometimes if you're playing in the swing space and the improvisational music space, experimental music, avant-garde music, modern jazz music, you'll be required to keep the tempo, keep the volume, keep your consistency for as long as you're playing, and make it hot the whole time. Never get tired. What else did we talk about today, and what else should we go over? Yes, well, I'm going to play some more and experiment with this weird little setup that I have that has the snare drum on my right side and the floor drum right here on the left side in between my legs. Normally, the snare is here on a right-handed setup, right? So you'd play, But I decided to switch it up like this because of a physical issue that I was having where I had some pain in my elbow that I believe was due to lifting a lot of gear. I'm a DJ as well, and I'm required to pick up speakers from the floor and then lift them over my head and onto speaker stands. I'm required to pick up things and clench really hard in my fists, which was putting a lot of pressure between the tendon and my elbow, so in this direction. And initially I thought that it could have been about the angle that I've been holding my elbow for so many years as a drummer this way, hence. So I decided to just change the repetitive motion and stretch my elbow out and put a snare drum right here, which causes a bit of confusion, but also causes the brain to just keep your direction going from the left to the right while keeping the snare drum here. You can get some cool fills like this. right? So that's me still coming back up from the left to the right. And normally that would sound like this if I was doing the same direction, but with these two drums switched. So, yeah, I mean, do what works for you. Try and do something different, though. Try and do something that actually allows for your creativity to shine through. At least that's what I feel I'm doing. And I'm also serving the needs of my body and serving the needs of my body now, right? Not my body 7 years ago. The reason why I say that is because about every 7 years, for some reason, as my body grows and as I mature, I have to rethink my posture. I have to rethink where I keep this ride cymbal. This ride cymbal keeps on getting higher the older I get for some reason. So I think that's because I would like for things to sort of be reach worthy, but not to a dangerous degree, but just to a degree that it actually like lifts my whole body up, right? So yeah, it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. Anyways, listen, before I continue to blab away, I know everybody's busy. I'm going to get out of here. This is every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. on NGO Radio Terra's YouTube channel. Please like this video, subscribe, and share. I'll be back here next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is E-Cussionist, a.k.a. Matt V. Matt V Drums on IG. Signing out. Peace and blessings, world. Take care of one another. Shout out to the drum community. Shout out to Roland Corporation. Shout out to Tamboro Drums. Shout out to Prowell and Icon Microphones. I'll see y'all next week.